Over the years, I've reported to many different managers. Those that have also been leaders have definitely had a certain something about them. Some have been charismatic, perhaps not in the same league as Nelson Mandela or Mahatma Gandhi, but they had this knack of making you feel optimistic about goals, no matter how tough those goals were. Some haven't been what you'd call charismatic, but their personal qualities still made them very effective leaders. These leaders were extremely clear about what we needed to achieve as a team, and they took every opportunity to make sure that we also understood why our goal was so important and that we were really on board. These leaders were genuine. You knew they'd follow through with what they'd said. They were consistent about achieving what was important in terms of targets and values. Their values influenced everything they did. Their standards for behavior and teamwork were very high, and they applied exactly the same standards to themselves too.
My previous manager was tough. She left you feeling like you were just one of her resources to help her get her job done. Our new manager is tough as well, but in a different way. She doesn't just tell us what to do, she explains why it needs to be done. She doesn't just delegate tasks to us and then leave us to it. She gives each individual just the right amount of support. And feedback's different too. My previous manager would really let you know when something wasn't right, and then every now and again you'd get some general textbook praise. Our new manager helps you reflect on what you've done and on what you've learned from it. It's almost as if she's not just our leader, she's also one of our resources to help us get our jobs done. Productivity, team spirit, and personal job satisfaction have never been higher.
I wasn't sure about our new manager at first. He seemed a bit of a chameleon. At times he'd be very sociable, and at other times he'd be very strict. Sometimes he'd consult with us, and at other times he'd be autocratic. But then, the more I thought about it, the more I could see that he was actually being very consistent about what was important, what we had to achieve, the way we had to achieve it, and so on. He'd only be strict with people who were negative and undermined others. He'd only be autocratic when we were dwelling on difficulties instead of creating solutions. He'd cut through the negative stuff and take charge. I realised that he had very strong principles about our goals, about us as individuals, and about how we worked as a team. Those principles were being upheld through different behaviour, depending on the situation. This underlying consistency was just one of the qualities that made you really respect him.
The last 12 months have given me some really useful experience as a first-time manager. The work's been very procedural and my staff are experienced. As a result, my role has centred mainly on work allocation, monitoring performance standards, maintaining cover between shifts, and dealing with problems that my staff can't handle at their authority level. The feedback from my manager and from my staff is that I've grown at the work quickly and the staff respect my efficiency. I'm ambitious and I want further promotion. Discussing this with a colleague, she said something that really made me think. She said that a bigger job would involve more leadership and that being an efficient manager wasn't enough to be a good leader. She explained that leadership involves more personal qualities and that I need to assess myself objectively. I did this by thinking about people, both in and out of work, especially those with whom I'd had personal contact, who had inspired me. And I listed exactly what it was about the way they interacted with me that had had such a positive effect. She said that if I based this on my own personal experience, it would be more specific, and I'd be able to see how personal qualities come through in behaviour in the kind of situations I face. Behaviour is what counts, because that's what people base their opinions on.